What do we say? We're on number 9. Okay.
Is it 9?
Number 9.
Every single episode starts this way, where we're just stunned at what number we're on. It is number 9, and just happy to be here. I think all three of us. We've survived Henderson, Nevada, to make yet another punk rock safety episode. Vegas adjacent. Yeah, we're talking about. There's been a lot of discussion mere moments before this started on what we should talk about. We've arrived sort of haphazardly at incident investigation.
As advertised.
Speaking of advertising, Ron.
What?
Who's that right behind you?
Oh,
or next to
you.
Yeah, that's me. And you.
That's
other
me.
Ron. Mm-hmm.
That's Octoron.
Yep.
That's Nicholas, our renowned bartender from the Punk Rock Museum.
Yep.
He works at numerous bars.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where he's been given various nicknames.
Sounds like you got to know him quite well, Ron.
He's a good friend. I'm pretty sure he was much more interested in someone else, but that's fine. You know,
he introduced himself to Ron as Ron. Do you want to tell our 6 listeners how Nick introduced himself?
Nick with the big dick. That's how he introduced himself. Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah,
he waited incidentally until Dave left to go run a little errand.
Yeah,
to let me and Ron know that.
Yeah, yeah,
which is I'm really happy about.
Yeah, but he was delightful, funny, and good guy.
Yeah. He took good care of us while I was drinking out of a Pringles can. Look, go to the Punk Rock Museum in Las Vegas. It's amazing.
Yeah,
I think we all have some evidence of it. And you should go, and you should take Ron. Ron will play in the jam room. Whose guitar did you play?
I actually don't know that I ever got that information.
What an asshole. Ron played someone's guitar. They're all band guitars.
There was only one left-handed guitar.
One, because of course Ron is left-handed. That makes sense for a guy doing a dissertation on joint cognitive activity.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean,
it was really cool. Go there. Maybe don't drink the Fletcher.
Yeah,
or do.
I think.
Yeah. We may have talked. Did we talk about the Fletcher?
Yeah, we talked about it. We shared that with our 6 listeners last week.
We've been there.
Well, listen, I got to tell you, it's still top of mind for me.
So you're still having the effects from it.
Still got a little bit of the itis. Yeah, that was rough. Yeah, it was sort of flashbacks to. Well, I don't know that I drank out of a Pringles can in college. Honestly, probably would have. All right, what's new, boys?
Yeah, what's been up? What's been going on, David? What are you up to?
I'm home. Yeah, back in wintry Melbourne. So not quite Nevada temperature. Although, well, it's about 40 degrees today Fahrenheit. So it's about 40 degrees Celsius or 50 degrees Celsius in Nevada. So yeah, back into the daily grind. Nothing super exciting. Friday though. Friday afternoon even. So that's even better.
That's fantastic. That's what I like.
Tomorrow evening, Super Rugby finals. Just throwing it out there.
Well, there you go.
What are you gonna do now that you're an OKC Thunder fan because Josh Giddey was there and he just got traded to the Bulls? Are you gonna be a Bulls fan now? What are you gonna do?
No, definitely not a Bulls fan. I'm a 90s. I'm very much a 90s Bulls fan, but not a fan of anything that they're doing in the last few seasons.
They just stole one of your guys.
Yeah, well, that's right. We sort of migrated off Josh a little bit. He sort of had some challenges in California, in Orange County, actually.
Of the legal variety.
Orange County or somewhere.
Some challenges.
In your neck of the woods. So, they've got some really good players. So
I bet Nick, the bartender, has maybe had a challenge.
I'm sure he's had some
challenge or two.
his own challenges.
I don't know. He
Yeah.
seemed like a nice dude. Probably not.
Yeah.
There you go.
What are you up to, Ben? Any challenges?
I'm going to Phoenix on Sunday. You'll be happy to know. Where it will be, if the predictions are right, 122 degrees Fahrenheit, which is
shut the front door.
I'm just real excited about. So that's fucking awful. And I'm bringing I'm gonna go speak at a conference, which seems to be a really popular thing right now. I don't do that often, except apparently in the last 6 weeks. And I'm taking Legos with me.
Did they invite you, Ben, or did you have to apply for that, or what?
No, they invited me.
Holy buckets.
Paid for it. Yeah. I mean, it's not like Banff, apparently.
You are big time.
Well, I'm tier 4.
Tier 4. Yeah. We'll work on that. We'll come
away. I'd say tier 4. You know what? After this week on here, maybe still tier 4.
Yeah,
I mean, you maintain, and that's.
But I'm taking Legos with me, and I have 105 pounds of Legos in Pelican cases to do some cool work with like 50 people.
Cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
That's pretty fun. You're gonna make
a little Lego serious play, as they say.
Serious,
real serious.
And so, Ron, 1 week until the big D. The big D.
Yeah.
Ron's big D in a week.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, I've been.
Should we call Nick and just see if
he could show up?
Yeah. Ron doesn't want us to, and we've offered to do it, but to post the Zoom link.
By the time
this one will come out.
This is already done. By the time this comes out,
but I think
I don't know that I'm comfortable with you just posting it on LinkedIn, but like putting it in the show notes, like we said, I might be convinced that that's a good idea.
Oh, I'll do that.
Okay.
Because like then we'll have 6 more people show up, maybe. Actually, no, like 4 of them will be busy.
So then on LinkedIn, if I say check the show notes,
just I mean, it's a great test.
It's all traffic, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
But
look,
like,
the committee's got to give you good
tomorrow
news
to make sure that I'm not like gonna accidentally
overwhelm the system,
shit myself by
You're not gonna shit yourself because of that. It's not your
There's
fault.
all kinds of reasons I might shit myself, but it's not that one.
You drink out of a Pringles can, I'll tell you what, you're gonna be closer than you hoped.
You cleaned out?
There's a pretty fair chance you're getting to tier 2 if we can get a couple hundred people on this thing.
Oh, buddy,
can you imagine? So good. How do they take questions, do you think?
So you're gonna have to fight David Woods for that, my friend.
Okay. Well, I don't want to fight Dave. Dave's cool. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. Yeah. I don't know. He could probably get feisty.
No, I'm 100% he can. I don't want to fight him. It's like an octopus on a conveyor belt, man. I'm gonna lose every time. Don't tell Dave. I don't even know what that means, but you can imagine what it would look like, and I feel like
you lose
David get pretty
time.
squirrely. 9 times out of 10, you lose that.
Did that go the way you expected it to?
What the fuck are we talking about today?
We're talking about investigations, I think. Is that agreed? Okay, good.
Oh yeah, we did say that already, didn't we?
Like mere moments ago, I said that. I got to tell you, and I don't think we hadn't closed this out at CHOL during the last show, but not one person got a tattoo while we were in Vegas.
That's depressing.
Well, I saved a little cash, but I'm a little disappointed. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I didn't get one either, but that wasn't part of the game. So maybe find better listeners for us, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But old mate, one of the boys over here, Mitch just piped up on LinkedIn in the last 12 hours and put his hand up and said he's happy to do it. Did you not see that?
What?
Yeah.
No, I'm
Mitchy,
in.
he's good guy. He said,
Yeah,
if you can just change the numbers on the dice, I'm all in.
Mitch, we're doing it. What does he want the numbers to be? Snake eyes?
Wants him to add up to 13. Must be a favorite number. I don't know.
Jesus, Mitch.
It's away, mate. We're
I'm
away.
already paying for the thing, and now
How
you're
does it add
asking
up
for
to
custom art.
13?
I don't know. Hey? Well, there's three faces of the dice that's visible, so it's kind of I don't know. Well, I'll reach out.
Oh, I
I'll
see.
find the
Oh, okay, I
story.
see.
I
Yeah,
But
see.
yeah, yeah.
Mitchy,
Okay.
if you're listening, mate, I'm going to swing by and pick you up and drive you down there myself, and I'll make sure Ben's
Yeah,
wires through the
I'm
money.
good for it, especially with the Australian conversion. I mean,
Oh, it'll be like
this is
$3 for you, Ben. Yeah,
easy. Well, the kind of place you're going to take him. Yeah,
yeah.
maybe $3.
We'll make sure he gets a
The
few
hepatitis is free.
yeah, a few injections first. But rock on.
Okay, man, I'm so excited now that I
Yeah.
got a little sidetracked.
There you go.
So we're talking about investigations.
Yep.
Mhm.
Ooh, that's how I started out in safety stuff. Learning
Like,
that I did 2 years of engineering school. I did not do the other 2 years, just two. That's called half-ass, boys. And then I, I thought, this stuff's actually kind of cool. So when I switched to doing some other things, uh, I thought, man, this would be cool. I'd like to poke around and see if you can put things back together. So I did airplane accident investigation. I
Wow.
don't think I solved the world's problems. Turns out there's still bad things happening. Yeah.
well, you suck.
I know. Sorry.
I think I think that's a good
Sorry.
place to
Sorry for the letdown.
I think that's a
That's
good
how you
place
get tier 5.
to step.
Sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
No. I
Tier
think
3
tier
wants
five
to
keep
talk.
going backwards. I think it's a good place to step off from though. Like, you comment there about, did lots of investigations, but there's still bad things that happen. And so I guess it's not a bad place to start when we talk about incident investigations. Like, what are we trying to achieve when we investigate incidents is probably the first questions that's worth a
Yeah.
discussion.
I think I think above anything, really, it's the sort of psychological closure that drives so much of it. I mean, the amount of work that we would put into some of these things years afterwards just to like do math on hydroplaning and all this sort of stuff. You could sort of know how hydroplaning works. It was that idea of being able to close it out and say, we've done it, we figured the thing out
Hmm.
and move on. So I think closure is a big piece. I don't think that's what people would tell you in the middle of an investigation, but I do think that drives a lot of it.
So the closure gets driven by um, that understanding of the way the world works. So I think
Yeah. And
Sid,
maybe
Sid Decker,
like a political need
Sid
too,
Decker,
right?
for example, tier one,
Yeah.
in
How do you spell that?
his books where he kind of says
DIER.
because we don't intend to have these incidents, it sort of shatters our model of the way that the world works for a period of time and creates all of this
Mhm.
uncertainty and anxiety around our ability to control things. And when we believe that we figured it out, like you said, Ben, we believe that we're back in control of our world again,
Yep.
and that kind of gives us the ability to kind of move on.
No, that idea of controlling, having some control over something, I think is a really important and good way of saying that.
Hmm.
That's what we're looking for.
But like, so we say that's what we're looking for, and that's the
It's
the
just two
purpose.
Rons there, and it's a lot.
Disconcerting.
All
that's
right.
that's more Rons than we need.
It's two more than we need. But like, so is it the intentional purpose? I mean, because like you ask people, you go to investigation class, they're not like, purpose of this is to make us feel better.
No, that's not the intentional purpose, but that's why I was saying I don't think anyone in the midst of an investigation is going to just tell you this is a political process. We have to have something that we can point to as the boogeyman. But I think mentally, right, the sort of cognitive push for this is is that, and we could justify it with science and forensics and all these things. Doing metallurgical testing makes, it sure looks like things are happening. And some of it is important to know, right?
Yeah. And the espoused goal, I think if you asked a lot of people, and maybe if you ask people in a course, would be learning and improvement. Right? Okay. We want to understand the situation more deeply, more comprehensively, and find ways to then systemically change our system to, prevent the potential for that type of thing to occur in the future. I think that would be the espoused goal.
Is it? So I think
Well, the espoused goal, I think people would say that. Right?
no. See,
Ron
I
doesn't
think
think
I
so.
think no. Like the people it's a version of what you're saying, but it's not as deep. I think people will just say prevent recurrence.
That's kind of what
Like
I
that.
said, but I said it a bit more articulately. Like for your
Well,
defense,
no. So
hopefully,
I think the point
He's
is, I
just
think there's a
slower. Give him
difference.
a break.
I think there's a difference.
Oh, really?
Like oh yeah, because I think how do you prevent recurrence?
Which Ron is talking about this right now? I hate to do that. We always do this and we can see each other, and most people are just listening and they can't see this. And it's got to just sound stupid. Probably like the rest of
Just
the
like
podcast.
so the whole podcast.
If
I'm
you
not sure I'd
can't
be
see
smiling that much with Big Dick Nick standing right behind me like that, with that look in
I've
his
never
eye.
smiled that much in my life.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, if you can't see it, there's two Rons, which is more Rons than we need.
So much more wrong.
Okay.
Go over to,
So
go over to
Ron
YouTube, go
said
over
the
to
same
YouTube
thing
and
as
check it out.
Dave
Yeah.
and disagreed with it.
I don't think it's the same thing. Like, because
Okay, tell us.
until the very end, you said learning and improvement.
Yeah.
Yep.
To find some sort of systemic what's going on in our system, and then to prevent similar types of accidents from happening again. I think most people don't think that deeply about it. I think the overwhelming majority of people I talk to, they want to find the root cause for that incident.
Yeah.
It's not a system issue.
Okay.
It's a very linear event-based issue that I think people are going
I don't think what
which
Dave
I
said,
think
though,
actually coincides more with the anxiety reduction piece of it. It's like, I want to get rid of that monster that came and scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Not know that my system is fucking broken and falling apart. I just want to deal with that one problem and move on because it's scary as hell.
I think I will say, having been part of a number of investigations of different types or different industries, and I'm sure you guys have been too.
You should write a paper, Ben.
But I tended to, what's that?
You should write a paper on it then.
Yeah, maybe. And that's what a tier 5 would do, if we're honest. So, I would say though that the people in those investigations were closer to Dave's explanation of this. And maybe that's because they were involved in these things often enough that they understood that there was some systemic level. I think what always gave me heartburn though was that we kept doing the same fucking kinds of investigations and talking about systems, and then you just close the thing out and move on and do it again and do it again. And it's why for me, I really didn't want to keep doing that.
That's interesting
after a
in
while.
a couple ways. So like, number one, like, I wonder, because like your experience is very different than my experience. The kinds of investigations that I see and do, well, not the ones that I do right now, but like ones I've done in the past and everything.
Definitely not the ones. A friend of yours does these, but no.
Yeah, this friend, you don't know him.
He's Canadian.
He lives in Canada. I definitely have friends.
Sorry. Well, look in the photo at least, Nick.
Yeah. But I mean, it's very not systemic. It's very figure out what the issues are that will please or that will appease the situation.
Yeah.
Right. Like that'll deal with like the imminent risk. And so, like, for example, I'm doing a lot in construction right now. The overwhelming majority incidents I have are they identify causal factors or root causes. That's the term they use that are I mean, it's predictable. It's always the individuals closest. It's never the organization
Mhm.
that's doing the investigation, and it's never implicating anyone with any stakes.
So, so why? So maybe if some of these challenges, as we talk about each of these challenges, it'd be good to kind of, I'd love to get your view of kind of why that happens. Because if we've got this espoused goal of better understanding, learning, improvement, whether that improvement is systemic or whether even we're just trying to find that one thing that we can fix for that situation. And then we're sort of saying that some of these challenges, why do you think, Ron, then that, I think that everyone in organization, management included, would say that, we're trying to find and fix problems.
Yeah.
Why then don't we do that?
Why are we so shit at it?
We're dumb. No, I mean, in all honesty, I think it's the effect of numerous trade-offs and pressures that are influencing people towards, actions that, I guess to me, it starts from a place of admitting that an accident investigation never has one goal. It
Yeah.
always has multiple goals, and some of those are competing, but we never really talk about that. And so we don't have any strategies to mitigate it, but that still affects us as a result. I think that's just, my opinion of it. I think there is also a paper. Um, I know Hallnagel was
Did
on it.
Dave write it?
Other ones. Dave was not on it. It was like the one paper.
That's
Um,
shocking.
um,
Yet. He's not on it
but
yet.
it was
It'll be revised.
what you look for is what you find,
Yeah.
and what you find is what you fix. And where they looked at different accident investigations, and what they found was similar. Like there was these multiple competing political, resource related, institutional factors that were influencing these accident investigators, beyond just let's find the problem and fix it.
Yeah. And you can almost, well, with the fidelity of a magic 8 ball, you could pretty well hit all the causal factors that are going to come up, right? It's
Yeah.
fatigue, failure to follow procedures, poor communication, human error. People love to put in there.
Inadequate supervision.
Complacency, inadequate, right? You just start naming the things off.
Failed to identify the hazard.
Yeah, sure. All the right. The list keeps going, and I think that same research kind of gets to that point of.
And I think to Ron's point, it's kind
you
of
can
interesting.
always hit those things. Yeah.
Ron's point, you sort of said about management never really being that implicated. I've never seen any investigation have a cause or contributing factor of the safety team, like it's or an action of something the safety team needs to do.
Mhm.
And I think it's true as well of senior leadership. Like I never sort of see an investigation go point there. So it's well, except for maybe some
Balloons.
independent investigations,
Yeah.
like
there you go.
you have a government chemical safety review board, or you have someone who comes in from really outside that's happy to implicate the CEO or something like that. But internal investigations, if that's what we're spending our time talking about today, they're pretty superficial, right?
Yeah. And even when they attempt, and maybe I'll put attempt into air quotes. I guess I'll do that for the camera just in case anybody's watching. But
They're not.
yeah.
But if they were,
But like
if it is on YouTube, like if you're listening to it, you thought I'd like to see 2 runs.
If you want
Hop
to,
on.
it's up to you.
3 runs, really, if Dave moves his head.
Oh my God, there's a plethora of Rons. There's actually 3 Bens now too.
Yes, yeah, amazing.
This guy, no fucking way.
Oh, delicious.
Don't tell anybody. They have to go to the YouTube channel to see that.
Go to the YouTube to, I don't know how many minutes and seconds. Just watch the whole thing. Congratulations. It's going to be great.
But like, so
this stuff.
Well, I was just going to say, even when people try to get systemic internally, they often end up not implicating themselves. They use a very quote systemic, but not really systemic concept like safety culture. Oh, we had a poor safety culture that we need to improve.
Yeah, that's everybody's favorite.
Exactly.
Boeing, big door making company, who we've talked about before, right? This is it. You're in front of Congress, and everything is just simplified down to a single dimension. and it's a poor safety culture. Okay, go fix that.
Yeah.
Which I don't know.
Chernobyl was a bit the same, right? Chernobyl, if the plant had have had a culture for safety, then everything would have been different.
Those damn Russians and their safety culture, or Ukrainians, I guess.
Yeah,
Shit, man, you can go there if you like. Just got I assume you got a bunker in your house.
Oh yeah, clearly.
Do you think that when people
Bunker down with Nick.
when they use frameworks like investigation frameworks, do you think that helps or hurts? And in the 14 seconds we used to prepare for this, I mentioned HFAX is one that gets used. And Dave, I think you've seen that. NASA uses that sometimes too. I know you've hung out with those folks shooting stuff into space. And or ICAM, I think in Australia is another one. I don't know, there's a lot of investigative frameworks. Did those help or hurt?
You know,
what's the weird like oh damn it, not bow tie, but there's another, you know what I'm thinking of. It's like an RCA thing. Taproot.
Management oversight risk trees. Look, I think it's a good point. So when I talk with organizations, like people seem to always default to the methodology, right? And the tool and the process, right? Thinking that if I just get a better tool, I'm going to get better investigation outcomes. Now I'm going to use Taproot instead of ICAM, instead of HVAC, whatever it is. And I think in my belief, I guess, is that that's like 2% of the determinant of an investigation outcome, right? Long after we think about capability and leadership and prevailing logics and culture. I'll use that word, logics, in the organization. So I still think the investigations that I haven't done a lot in my career, but the last big one I did was just blank page. Literally just start talking to people and just follow the bouncing ball. We've been through that on a previous episode. Like, just see what
bouncing. That is so tough in regulated industries. I think it's maybe it feels tougher to people in those industries than it really is, because the regulator very often doesn't say you have to use this form or do this.
Yeah.
But I think that they need that artifact of effort.
And I think the other thing about those things that we're calling processes or tools, they're often nothing more than an incident causation taxonomy. Like they're not a tool or that's all they are. They're just a list of names for causes. Right.
Yeah. And the best case scenario though for those is that it prompts some introspection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say
worst case scenario
does not happen very often.
I didn't consider the role of complacency.
Yeah, I'm sure you fucking did.
It was probably the person close to the exit.
Yeah. But like I think the worst case scenario is we think that creates a thorough investigation on its own. I was reading a paper today, actually, Muddling Through by Lindblom. Yeah. And one of the arguments,
that's a cool paper.
Yeah.
This is the one, it's like 80s.
It's like 70s.
Muddling, but still not through. I think
exactly
trying to find this
79, I think it was. But cool. He was making an argument
they
about
didn't write that one either, by the way. But
that's two. There's the two. But and that's why he's tier 3. But it's
the air's thin up here, boys.
But like he was making the argument, so like the people call for like a thorough analysis in public policy. That's the domain he was talking about. Thorough analysis of the policy issue or the problem. You need to look at every single aspect of this. But the problem is, there's uncertainty. You don't know for sure, that you're actually going to be able to look at everything. And so people are like, well, just be as thorough as you possibly can. But the problem, of course, is if there's uncertainty, you actually have no way of knowing how uncertain you are.
Yeah.
Right? Like
I think you guys will tell me if this is bullshit, but I think it was an interview with James Reason. And at some point he said, root cause is the thing you were paying attention to when you ran out of time
The
or
last thing that
money.
you were
Yeah, I
looking
think
at.
that's
Yeah,
reason.
yeah.
Yeah. Or like I think Rasmussen has a great, there's 3 papers. Rasmussen has a like I think a fucking classic paper, human error and the problem of causality, I think is what it's called, 1994. I think it's everybody should read it. But where he talks about like what we call the root cause is the not just the last thing we looked at, but the last thing we looked at that made sense as a cause to us in that moment. Like it's,
Yeah.
there's
In that
stuff
sort of
that makes
linear thing that you were talking about, though, Ron, right? Because it's easier to think about
exactly.
that and linearity. Hey, there's a cool book, by the way, if you need something that says cause in the title. Udaya Pearl wrote The Book of Why, and then he wrote another book on sort of more academic about causality. And that's really, really cool stuff, but it's almost a mathematical view of causality. Um, it's directed acyclic graphs and really cool stuff. You should do that.
I think
It's a
I think
very, very cool view.
I think that
Mhm.
the other challenge with the investigations is it actually presents what is purported to be the basically source of truth or facts around the event.
Mm.
And so if you look at another paper, someone like Richard Cook's paper, I wasn't involved. A tale of a tale of two stories, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's multiple truths and multiple stories at play in any incident inside a complex system. So, one of the things about an incident investigation is, claiming monopoly over what actually happened is something to be very careful about.
Yep. There's a really cool movie. I think actually Sid points this out somewhere too, but you can watch it without attributing it to Sid. But it's a Akira Kurosawa film called oh, you know what I'm talking about, right?
No, go
Rashomon.
for it.
It's a really it's a very, very cool book or movie called Rashomon, and it's this idea of a murder from 3 different perspectives, all of which are true to the people involved. And
Mm.
if you don't want to read a safety paper, you're going to hurt Dave's feelings. But if you wanted to do something that just sort of gets that across, it's a really, really, it's a really interesting film. It's, I don't know, what is that, 50s? Kurosawa was doing a lot of movies then.
Well, and I think that's, that speaks to, I mean, we're hitting two, I think, foundational pillars, like at least when I was like coming up and being trained as an investigator in my domains, like, construction and, utilities and things
Ron's a
like that.
master of his domain.
A master of the domain. Yeah, definitely. But
It's the Seinfeld references, or yeah.
yeah. Um, but like one, that there's such a thing as an objective investigation,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Like we're saying, well, there's multiple stories, right? Like there's
Yep.
different perspectives and all are equally valid. And secondly, that you got to find one truth.
That gets
When
so much pushback
yeah,
organizationally. And I think you guys see that too. But for me, I mean, that is that idea that we can't decide on one true path, like
Yeah.
one just step one, two,
And I
three,
saw
four.
this play out, which was really interesting because an organization recently had an incident, basically just call it a spontaneous fire incident. And the problem with the investigation is they couldn't work out what happened. And the absence of, like you mentioned, closure, and they sort of hypothesized there's about 4 or 5 ways that it was possible for this fire to have started. But they didn't know, and it just absolutely threw them into a fucking spin, right? Like the fact that they couldn't believe that they'd solved this was kind of like. And so my comment to them is that don't be fooled into thinking that all of your other investigations have actually solved
yeah,
the problem too. But it was
The
like
biggest,
the first time that I guess that I'd seen kind of an organization in that space where they didn't feel like they knew, right. It was very
it's
foreign to,
existential,
yeah,
right?
very foreign. So they ended up
dude, the
basically
biggest accident.
having actions to jump at shadows to basically chase
Yeah.
down all of these 5 or 6 different scenarios and treat them all as true and try and solve all of the things. And yeah, it was a really, really kind of interesting
That's fascinating.
We were doing
scenario.
this for 9 years on the biggest accident investigation that I was part of. 9 years later, just again, and Dave, I think that calling it chasing shadows is a really cool way of doing it. But somebody would say, well, what if this happened? Well, we sort of knew it didn't, and it didn't really matter the answer of that thing. But it was that need for closure and for feeling. I, I feel like it's a confusion between effort and output, right? Or Dave likes to call there's this guy that has called it, safety work versus
Yeah,
safety of work.
that fucking
But I think
guy.
But it's just wheel spinning, but it sure looks like stuff is happening.
yeah, and a recent conference that I know Drew Ray spoke at sort of talked about, just basically the purpose of so many of the things that we do in safety really just being about anxiety reduction, right? Just settling everyone down. And I guess Ron's the one with the real job, but I guess there's a fair bit that goes on in your world, Ron, that's just about just everyone settle the fuck down, right? We've
100%.
got an answer now. You can all back off and we can all move forward.
Yeah, I mean, actually, that's a big part of my job post-incident is actually deflecting a lot of that bullshit so that the people closer to the front line can actually deal with the issues, take the time to actually do the learning. Like I gotta deal with various parties that will go unnamed.
I was just thinking of,
but to
I was
be
just
clear,
thinking of another
it's bullshit
colleague,
to the three of us.
another colleague that
But if you're doing
that
this at work, you're not full of shit.
a colleague that I won't
No.
name.
But no, that's it. And
wanna
I
say-
think it's important.
We're just
like,
gonna keep stepping on Dave.
yeah, just
it is. Yeah, of course. We're,
He'll give
but
up
like
eventually
it's
and drink
so
Pringles again.
fucking easy to listen to what we're saying and have the implication be just tell everybody to fucking suck it up and let's go find the truth. That's not, I don't think that's what any of us are saying. I think what we're saying is like there's actually a real need in incident investigation that is not currently being addressed in most traditional, accident investigation approaches that I think we actually need to acknowledge, address, manage. Like it's human. So we're not going to get rid of it anytime soon. You can't tell people who are anxious to stop being anxious. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
Just pay more attention.
Yeah. So we have to, as part of our incident investigation process, acknowledge that's going to be something that's going to be there. It's normal, and we should orient ourselves to manage it and not let it also get in the way of the other goals that are critical, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And if you're using a framework, whether it's bow tie or taproot or HVACs or whatever, it's okay. Don't
Sure.
freak out. Use it. Use it as you would any other sort of tool and know the limitations. If you're trying to cut a 2x4 in half with a hammer, that's a pretty shit way of doing it. It might work eventually, but it's just knowing the limitations of it and maybe, I don't know, ask better questions than the model might suggest.
Because it depends how big your hammer is.
Well, I'll tell you, Nick, no 2x4 is a match for Nick.
But like, I think it's also worthwhile occasionally to use the framework. I agree. The frameworks are not, they will have things that they like illuminate for you as part of that investigation, but they will also have things that they have blind spots to. Like every single framework. This is not just bagging on one framework. This is all of them, every single one. So, maybe it's occasionally good to, okay, what if we looked at this investigation from this lens instead? What kinds of questions would that make us ask? And you can't do that with all of them. So I don't think we're going to say that, but like, if you're not doing that occasionally or not just thinking about that occasionally, you're probably leaving some learning on the table.
I think you're leaving a lot on the table.
Yeah.
I think
Nick is leaving.
This is sort of fascinating. So one of the things that I think about when I think about incident investigation is I sort of think it's probably a process. It's probably our oldest and longest standing safety management practice that we've got, right? So, we know that even in the 18, you could always go back to basically humans trying to understand bad shit that happened, right? Like you go back
after they yell at people to
tens
pay
of thousands of years, right? And after they yell at people or even after they execute people, right? Like
sacrifice a couple.
shoot first and ask
Well, you
questions.
give them a little cocaine water, it doesn't.
Oh, look, you floated. You must be made of wood. That's to the fucking fire with you, right? So, um, like
Turn me into a newt.
but and it's also a process as a safety function, which we've actually got quite a lot of control over. Like a lot of other processes, like there's risk functions and compliance functions and HR functions and things like that. But the safety team can pretty much go, okay, no, this is our investigation process. This is how we want to run it. And so it's a long-standing process, and it's sort of our process, and we sort of still seem to fuck it up or not get, I guess, the return on investment. Like you think about how much time and effort companies spend on incident investigation and the return they get. Like I kind of ask companies, just look back through your last 15 or 20 investigations and look at the actions that have come from it and think about the time you've spent on them and how do you feel about, you know, what you've learned and improved as kind of as a result. And most people are pretty
disappointed
maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, these thousands and thousands of hours and that we invest in this that doesn't seem to do too much.
Well, and I think if you think, you know, the whole measurement discussion that we had in one of our earlier ones, you know,
Metrics,
the proactive, reactive, leading, lagging, all that stuff, like incident investigation to me is like as leading as it gets, as an indicator,
as lagging as it gets,
as leading.
Incident investigation.
Yeah, incidents are lagging. Investigation is leading, because if investigation doesn't like predict future performance, then what the fuck are we doing it for?
That's exactly the point. It is, by any definition of anybody who requires investigations, a lagging indicator, because it is prompted by the awful thing having happened. The investigation doesn't happen independently of that. And it's not even an indicator. It's a lagging way of identifying.
I love the idea.
Risk.
So I love the, so if we not engaged, but just thinking to you, what you're saying, Ron, is I love the idea of an investigating being a proactive kind of forward-looking learning activity as opposed to a kind of reactive, backward-looking sense-making activity. Like it's,
but it would have to do that. It has to be prompted by something.
So it's prompted. It's triggered by something happening. But how we think of it as an activity doesn't have to be directed.
So what would it look like differently, right? One is, I mean, you're in a normal investigation, and the idea is figure out what happened. So what would someone do that wants to?
I think, you know, like, yes, in some sense, the lagging piece of it is, it's related to an event, but that's literally every single metric is related to an event. We're just deciding that some events are in the past that are in the past. You know, so like I'm just saying from a theoretical.
Just let me tell you the thing.
Go ahead.
They use a high consequence event or a. There's another way that they frame that, but the sort of the general European thing that appears in almost all the transportation regulations is that the trigger for something reactive versus proactive, and they define this legally. The triggering event is different in severity.
Yeah.
Now, you know, I guess you get to define what severity is, but what they tell you is essentially fatality, some high cost of damage, some operational interruption. These all qualify as really bad triggering events. And then what they would say is a near miss, right? Which is a fun thing to say, which is a low consequence triggering event. That's proactive. That's the stuff that they would say in regulation.
Yeah, I would just,
which we don't have to agree with.
Yeah, stupid. That is fucking stupid.
I'm sorry. I'm just telling you.
No, I mean,
should we call
I get that, and I get that people will disagree with it, but I just don't agree, because I think I think
hate that for you.
Our ability to improve future performance is like in an incident investigation, that is the fucking point. Like that's what we said the point is. That's what we said. Like, you know, everybody says the point.
That's what Dave said it was.
Yeah, it's true. Like that's what everybody, even the people who said like just prevent recurrence, all that. That's what they're all saying is like we want to get better in the future. So it
but then we behave differently about it.
Like, so what, you know, your ability to do a good investigation and act on the learning from that, to me, is proactive. It sounds crazy to think about it that way, but I will die on this hill. I will fight you.
I know you will, and you've got other shit to do, like a dissertation.
No, but I think it's a
big D.
I think, I mean,
but if you have a car accident,
when we see about what different looks like when we see about what different look like, and we go, okay, well, I don't know, go to Ron's world, and we say, okay, someone fell off a scaffold.
Come to Ron's world.
Let's go to Ron's world. Yeah, let's go to Ron's.
I got Nick here. We're at the bar. We're having a good time.
Octaron. We got lots of Pringles cans. Just jump on board.
We should make a Pringles can merch.
We should 100%.
There's
probably a copyright issue there somewhere, but it's fine.
Not if we call it something else.
Dingles.
Heyo. There it is. Okay, I'll get to work on that immediately.
Dingles with the big D. All right. So, but the idea of so if we go into Ron's world and we go, okay, someone fell off a scaffold. Let's hopefully we look after them, but we go, okay, let's just have a good hard look at how we do scaffolding in general, right? Like, and that, like, who cares what happened? Not who cares. What happened on that one day with that one person, with that one task, and what we think caused that one thing. Like, this might be a trigger for us to go, then, okay, let's have a good long hard look at this, and in quite a proactive kind of way, Ron. Like, how can we think about this activity going forward? In other ways.
I just think we're not paving any sort of new ground here, right? This is what investigations are meant to do. It's why on earth the trigger isn't, hey, should we think about scaffolding independent of someone falling off?
So
to me,
I think
that's proactive. That's going out and trying to poke around at the edges of a system and find things that we think might be a weakness and mess around and learn from people doing the work.
Yeah, but an event's kind of arbitrary, because I'd say that's reactive too. If I walk around and ask people what we can kind of work on, and then they go, oh, actually, we're having a few problems with scaffolding. Let's have a look at it. Then you'd say, well, are those problems?
Now somebody's making sense here.
Is that reactive or not? So the only true proactive way that you could actually do something was to list all of your activities, write them on a fucking piece of paper, put in a hat, hold the hat up, and reach into the hat and pull out a fucking bit of paper and go, okay, we're going to look at filling up water bottles. We're going to look at filling up water bottles this week, because filling up water bottles is not a single thing has happened with filling up water bottles. So we're going to look at that. We're fucking proactive.
But this is now our takeaway, because every episode we're trying to have a takeaway. This is it. Just write shit down.
Yeah, that's it.
And credit Dave with this.
Put it in your Dingles can.
The whole practical takeaways bit is fucking TM, the Safety of Work podcast. So tread lightly, Benjamin.
Don't worry, we'll give you all of our profits.
Wait, is practical takeaway a thing?
Yeah, it's TM, man. Come on, look it up.
Come on.
No, it isn't, is
it?
Okay.
But no, I think so.
That's a cool way of.
I think, yeah, to me, because so number one, it depends on how you approach investigation and how you think about how failures occur, right? So for me, and maybe this is what makes it easier for me to think about it this way, is I think of incidents as just one example of how that system is functioning. It is an abnormal example of how that system is functioning, but it is
I'd call it a normal example. I wouldn't say abnormal, because I'd just say,
just a complex state of being.
It's an abnormal outcome, right? Because like if it was a normal outcome, the system would adjust.
It's an unwanted outcome.
I'd say it's abnormal still, right? I don't think accidents happen normally in that system, though, right? Wouldn't the system then automatically adjust if it was an unwanted outcome? If it happened normally?
We have now entered the realm of where people are going to
they're going to start turning off.
Yeah. So,
but no. So
I mean,
so if you take that, then
we
the
keep
next
talking
step
over each other.
I'm sorry.
Today. No, it's okay.
Go for it.
I was going to call Big Dick Nick in on this one. Look, to your point, there are a lot of different states of a system. If we're going to investigate anything, why wouldn't we use all the same rigor and the same tools on any other state of the system? In other words, if we can do it when it's abnormal or unwanted or both, couldn't you just show up on a normal day? And if you're using like CAM or HFAX or Taproot or whatever you want, do all the same questions and all the same forms and all the shit that you have. And it's just a different state of the system. Nothing bad has happened. Can you do
Yeah,
that?
I agree. And actually and so I see where the misunderstanding was and what we're talking about with because when I say abnormal, I'm saying in terms of the output, not an abnormal state of the system. I'd say the state
Yep.
of the system was quite normal, it just had an abnormal outcome. So normal
You're abnormal.
functioning.
And I think
This is correct.
I
And
think
so I think step one in the investigation is to do the like kind of what you were saying is like understand how the system normally works and how it led to that abnormal outcome in this specific situation. And that to me is very proactive, I think.
well, I think anything that deepens your understanding of the way your system operates is useful for proactive activity, right? Like for doing things. There's an argument that kind of that I think that Woods would make, Ron, around investigations would go, what's the even point of trying to figure out your system in the past and what happened in the past because the system's already moved on, right? The complex system, you're not actually in the same system that was the system
you were when it happened.
Was the system that produced the event, right? So all you can really do is look at the state of the system now and try to understand how it's functioning now.
That's a fun conversation in a boardroom, right, Dave?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Why would we?
we roll any?
But if we think of this in very practical terms, I know of a situation in an organization that had a bunch of events, and when I went into and looked at the safety team, I was like, well, why are we working on the things we're working on? And they were still investigating and closing out incidents from a maintenance shutdown, and the maintenance shutdown had ended 4 weeks ago, and they were still working on closing out the investigation. And I go, but these events that happened and the activities associated with these events do not happen on your site now and will not happen on your site again for over a year. Like why? But it was that. So they were actually this idea that the systems moved on. That was quite literally the work had changed. And they were actually investigating and discussing and thinking
just
about
needing to close it, right?
Yeah. There's another good paper by Woods and Branlett and Madison, a few others around where is your organization looking in order to be proactive about safety? Is it looking forward, backward, or mostly just looking away? And it's a really good example of what we're talking about, like forward looking or backward looking. And I like the idea of investigations being an ultimate forward looking exercise.
One of the things that's so
crazy, right?
Yeah. Otherwise, why the fuck bother, right?
I would look backward though,
like
to what's behind you now.
It's like shutting. It's like shutting the fucking door after the Sasquatch has already got in the house, right?
By the time it's jerking the ween, it's too late. And
well, it's definitely
just Google it. Google it, but not on your work computer.
What you're saying though, like about how the system has moved on, is so practically important like I think people will miss it because what it means is that your system is automatically adapting to that unwanted outcome in a way that probably will make it less likely. So you could put in corrective actions that actually have nothing to do with improving the system, and that incident will probably not happen again, and it will have nothing to do with what you did.
Do you know where this works though? Where I find that parallel run is actually pretty cool in terms of making sense to folks is with the Sasquatch.
With what? I'm sorry.
When you talk with the Sasquatch, but when you talk about like financial things happening in an organization, right? There are financial quote failures. There these challenges that go, there is not this long-term need for investigating because there is a typical understanding that the state of the business and the economy and all these things have moved on. And so when I try to talk to people about that element of investigations, I start with the financial part. And we're just talking about when things go bad, how do we think about it? What are we trying to do? And then if you can ease into the safety side of things and they go, oh yeah, it's easier to come to the realization that maybe it's not that different.
It is kind of interesting, right? That point, and this is at risk of extending an already long podcast to be longer and less relevant, is the amount the what we put into safety in terms of investigation we don't do in any other function. Like someone makes a mistake in payroll, or someone does something else wrong, or in the business, send something to a client that they shouldn't have sent. That doesn't get some big long investigation and discussion and management meeting
with
the
8
local
people in
departments
a
goes,
room for a week.
Oh shit, we fucked up. Okay, well, all right, don't do it again. Like just
maybe under investigated in some cases.
Probably.
But try that approach in safety, right, Ron? Like you say, what actions are you taking as a result of this incident? And Ron's like, it doesn't matter because the system's already adjusted itself. We don't have to do anything, right?
Yeah. Well, I think
the ween got jerked.
You really need to give a shit.
Now
I think one of my favorite parts of that it's so subtle, but like after he's like, that ain't gonna work. Like
he's more of a
he's
shit.
not thinking to himself, okay, there's a Sasquatch that's like actually physically and sexually assaulting me right now.
That's not gonna work.
He's like, I have a medical issue. It's
well, she was trying, so I thought I better try as well.
It's only polite, okay?
Only polite.
Yeah.
So
I was worried about the dogs. Didn't have a gun, so you got to look it up. If you're listening, if you're still listening.
Yeah.
That might need to be end up in the show notes, because there may be an impregnated Sasquatch roaming around.
That's right. It may be carrying my child. Another real classic quote from that thing. So show notes, we'll put the link to that video and the link to. Oh no, we'll have already done it.
This will be done. So maybe we can wrap up with that. So Ron, this is, if we talked about investigations being reactive, this is your ultimate act of foresight kind of here, because this is going to come out after your dissertation. Yeah. So how did it go? How'd your defense go?
Myself.
You literally shit yourself?
Yeah, it was bad.
It was bad. Yeah, what happened? What happened?
So I made everybody cry, which made me shit myself because of how awesome it was.
So much joint.
Ben, you were there.
At least you've emptied out.
I was there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, fucking A. It was I don't know, it was breathtaking. I mean, Obama called me to say good job.
Oh,
yeah.
Thanks, Obama.
I think I solved the Middle East.
Nice.
I don't know.
Oh, the Middle East.
I solved it, bud.
Ben, you were there, mate. How did you think it went?
It's a joint cognitive activity, and I think there was some across this. Let's call it
you should actually bring marijuana.
Let's call it a barren wasteland of misunderstanding. I thought Ron did a fabulous job. Despite what his committee said, I'm going to call him doctor.
What was the ratio of
They just said tier 7. I don't know.
percentage of questions asked by Professor Woods, and as opposed to percentage of questions and discussion from everyone else on the committee?
What's the percentage of questions by Woods versus the percentage of monologues?
Soliloquy, I believe.
Is there a question at any time in our future?
Yeah.
It's gonna be great. I think we've reached the end of this.
I love that for you guys, and I thought it was a great evening, even though it did start at 11 o'clock my time. So yes,
11 a.m.
Oh, I was like, what?
11 p.m.
Wait.
Oh no, the
Oh, no,
defense. The
oh,
defense.
the
Yeah, no,
defense.
that's
Oh, you're
Jesus.
talking. I know what you're talking about. Yep.
I was being reactive. You were
Fucking
being
You were
hell,
drunk
Ron.
as
proactive,
hell.
and
You
that
kept like
is-
singing in the middle of the defense, like
Nobody
Like
could
I
Dave.
said,
mute
you
you.
put anything at 11 p.m. on a Friday night, you're getting drunk, Dave. You get like you know what the system's going to produce in given those. You got.
You know what you did.
I don't need a fucking iCam to tell me what's going to happen in that system with those parameters, right?
A lot of shocking outcomes.
Yeah, yeah.
a lot of Pringles cans.
Oh my
I'm
God.
gonna bring a Pringles can.
You should absolutely bring a Pringles
I,
can.
I will have behaved myself very well though.
The Dingles can.
Your dingle can.
Pringles can.
Look, check
And
it out.
instead of
punkrocksafetymerch.com. Check it out.
Yeah.
it'll get there eventually. Yeah. Oh man, there's some cool new stuff coming.
All right, what have you been listening to, boys? Before we wrap there, I don't think we've even got that far yet. But what have you been listening to?
I had Distillers on volume 11 all day. Brody
Uh,
Dahl. Yeah.
I've been listening to Bad Religion, trying to get smart through like
Yes.
osmosis.
Yeah.
Excellent.
You could listen to Descendents and Bad Religion, and you've got a lot
Yeah.
of educated people.
Yeah.
I don't think the Distillers work that way. I think Brody Dahl's a little crazy. Don't tell her I said that.
Don't worry, she doesn't listen.
No. 100% sure.
Well, inspired
Dave?
by our time at the Punk Rock Museum.
Yep.
Been listening to a lot of Circle Jerks. I didn't spend a lot of time
Yeah,
with those.
during school pickup.
Yeah,
I think, right?
like I said, they've been on a lot. I would never really, never really listened as much to them as I have recently.
That's great
So
though.
it's very, very old school kind of punk though. It's really cool. If you're not careful, every song sounds the same.
That's
If
fair.
you are careful, most of the songs
Okay.
sound
Yeah,
the same.
that's fair.
But very cool, very cool. And who doesn't like a good circle jerk, right?
Yep.
With a
I'll tell you.
Sasquatch.
Uh-huh.
With a Sasquatch.
Yeah, yeah.
Jerking the ween. On that note, boys,
On that note,
I think we've closed it out in fine style. It was a lovely discussion. I'm sure all 3 hours of it or whatever the fuck.
nailed it.
Nailed it.
Nailed
And
it.
you can really see the prep coming through, just really shining through all the deep several cuts to really put this together.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah.
Again.
Well done on
We'll
your
do-
defense run. See you boys soon.
Doc. Can we
Yeah.
call him Doctor right
Dr.
now? I
Ron.
don't want to jinx it. Dr. Ron.
Mr. Gant.
Dr. Octo Ron.
Oh, Dr.
Man,
Ron.
that's got a ring to it. Can you get me a high-res image of that little Octo Ron thing that I can put on a pint glass or a t-shirt?
I'll see what I can do.
Thank you.